All right, this is the first installment of the podcast, The Streamed Consciousness, brought to you by Little Big Guys. I got my first guest, Kemet the Raw, who just happens to be my brother, and the first topic is about aliens. Ooh, ooh. All right. So the reason why I picked aliens for the first topic is first and foremost, this has been a topic that, I guess the concept of aliens has been something that scared me since, like, as far back as I can remember. But it's always been a fascinating topic for me. It was like something that's like, oh no, like, I'm deathly afraid of aliens, but tell me more. Tell me more. And the reason why I have my brother on this is because not only has he shared in this, like, development of me being afraid of aliens, but he also does a lot of research on it and has, like, I don't know if it's current, but had a passion for finding out more about the unknown and about aliens and things like that. But I also think that this is the perfect time to talk about aliens because we have this Area 51 raid that is scheduled to happen next month. So this is the perfect time to kind of dive in depth about Area 51, aliens in general, why people are afraid of these things, what the government itself is, how the government is playing a role in these aliens being a source of fear, how people may not know that there's a lot of variety of aliens and, well, you know, allegedly, and things like that. So I really wanted to get some dialogue going on that and see what we can come up with. So, Kemet the Raw, what do you think?
Yes, sir.
What do you think about this Area 51, I guess, topic? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Are people actually going to show up to it? You know, just give me some thoughts.
All right. Well, I think that there actually probably will be a good amount of people that do it. However, the the federal government or the FBI actually wind up contacting the guy that set up the meeting spot and all that on Facebook, and contacted him about the situation, and basically made public statements about, like, if anybody tries to assault, then there will be shot on sight. However, I'm pretty sure that a lot of people are gonna show up anyway, even if they're, like, of course, not going to do the Naruto run with the tiles that are coming in as the first and second wave. However, like, the Area 51 thing, I think, like, it was actually, like, way more valid back in the day, like, probably about 20, 30 years ago. But my thinking about it is that, like, if it's such, like, a well-known spot, if there actually was any type of alien recovered technology or anything like that, then they would have obviously moved it and then just used Area 51 as, like, the red herring. And then because, like, if everybody knows about it, it's not really secret, is it? But
Facts.
But a lot of people still believe that, like, Area 51 is probably a place where governments test experimental aircraft, because like a lot of AKA UFOs, which just means unidentified flying object. That doesn't necessarily mean aliens.
Yeah.
But identified flying objects have been spotted around Roswell, New Mexico all the time. So they could just be testing some type of new aircraft for the government. I think that, like, but a lot of the time that people think about Area 51, it's automatically like aliens because of the Roswell incident and how supposedly, like, a craft crashed in Roswell, and then supposedly bodies and technology were recovered from it and then stored at Area 51.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people credit, like, the boom in technology, such as like wireless technology and things like that, like cell phones and computer chips and things like that. A lot of that came from reverse engineering a lot of that technology that supposedly was captured there. I'm not so sure about that because Nikola Tesla, who was a scientist around the same time that Einstein was famous and all that, he already discovered wireless energy transmission and was actually the inventor of the radar, as well as contributing to being able to use radio frequencies and things like that.
Tesla
was?
I
think Nikola Tesla, yeah.
Huh.
And so, like, I think a lot of that technology was already around. It's just that public technologies typically about 30 to 40 years behind what governments like military operations may actually have. You know what I mean? Behind the scenes in working on in secret.
Speaking of that kind of technology, something that the public may or may not know is like from the moment that the first iPhone, for the moment that the first iPod came out, they had the technology already to make the iPod Touch, and they just delayed it and added more and more and more as years go by, just to kind of lengthen that stream of income, which I think is genius, but I don't think a lot of people knew that.
Yeah, that's called planned obsolescence. So, for example, that's the reason why cars made from before 1980. Like refrigerators, water heaters, all types of things like that were built to last. The companies realized that they were losing money on the deal, and so they started implementing using less quality products, like less quality materials, and then they basically give it that's where the how do you say it? That's where warranties come in, because they give you a warranty based on how long it's expected to last. And then, so after that period, it's basically that's when you're supposed to replace it. But then when it comes to technology and things like that, a lot of that stuff is a lot of technology. For example, people said, "Where's the flying car?" back in the year 2000, and we're by now we should have jetpacks and the flying cars and stuff like that. The problem was, the flying car did exist in the year 2000. There's actually an article in Popular Mechanics magazine. I'll never forget it, because I used to read that all the time, because I was looking for the flying cars as a kid too. And it did exist. But however, it's one, you need a pilot's license to even attempt to fly it. And then two, it was so loud that it wasn't really feasible for public use, because it's basically like having a helicopter in a neighborhood.
Yeah.
But now they actually have hoverboards and stuff that work like jetpacks and things like that. Nowadays, that people, there was a guy in France that actually just did a 110 kilometer flyover in Asia to prove how well it works. So
yeah, I just saw that. I just saw that on Facebook for sure. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, but other than that, I mean, if we were talking about alien technology, I mean, it would have to be something that's so incomprehensible, because you're talking about something that can fly light years across galaxies or the universe, which a light year is literally that means at the speed of light, it takes a full year for light to travel that far.
Yeah.
So if you have some people that are able to master space flight over long distances like that, their technology would be so foreign to humans that I'm not even sure if we'd be able to reverse engineer it at all. It would be basically like an ant trying to look at a computer chip and then comprehend it.
Yes, that makes perfect sense. And I think what's so fascinating about, I guess you got to open my mind to this, because I was one of those people who grew up thinking that alien technology is the catalyst for a lot of the inventions that we have nowadays. And it may not be the case, because if you think about it, the kind of technology that an alien race or whatever would need to get here would be so far beyond what we currently have. But of course, if you're saying that we're 30, 40 years behind, then, technically it could be that. But I mean, it's as possible, of where we stand right now, if you think about 50 years ago, we don't have available to the public this sort of technology it would take to get to a whole different planet, because a lot of the alien specials or whatever I say that a big theory about how they travel is they use gravity, they use the atmosphere, they use certain parts of propulsion that are just completely out of our realm of understanding. They're bending physics itself to not have any drag when their aircrafts fly. They don't even, air pressure means nothing to them. That's why they can stop on a dime and make quick turns. They actually use gravity as their propulsion. So that, just getting into that mindset of thinking makes us makes them so far beyond our capacity that maybe alien technology wasn't a part of cell phones. Maybe it wasn't a part of, the new technology that we have. So that makes perfect sense.
And to add on to what you're saying as well, so there's a few different theories as to how it could possibly be done. So one is, like you said, anti-gravity. Like you could manipulate the magnetism of your craft versus the magnetism of nearby celestial bodies and stars and things like that, and then basically repel, basically change your frequency from positive to negative on the magnetic spectrum, and you then basically the same concept as a bullet train. You're basically hovering through each one of those things.
Yeah.
The problem with that one is that if that's the case, then you still have to account for, if something's flying at the speed of light, how are they going to be making reactions to random objects into space? Because space isn't just empty. There's all types of meteorites and planetoids and black holes and all types of random things that you may come in contact with. And then if you're moving at the speed of light, how fast would your reaction time have to be?
Type of thing, and where then, if a tiny grain of salt pebble hit your hull at that speed, it would just rip a hole through
explodes. It. Yeah, a piece of salt hitting the earth at the speed of light could literally tear a hole in the earth. So it's
But I know, that being said, that even with our aircraft that we have, the air pressure kind of creates a shield around our craft. So I wonder if that has something to do with using gravity to push things away. It's not going to discount a black hole. You stumble across it. But if you are traveling through space like that, you're going to have a contingency for a black hole, and you're going to know where they are. But as for pebbles and debris and meteorites, I think maybe the fact that they shield themselves and use gravity itself as a propulsion, it can be used to repel things that it comes into contact with.
Right. But then, like I said, what about the bigger objects like planetoids or moons or something like that? So, for example,
well, you're not going to accidentally run into a moon. You're going to have your whole map sketched out. You'll have to go super slow, or at least slow as possible, to map out your route. And then every time you want to take that route, you have that map that you can now only have to deal with the real obscurities, like a random meteorite, a random pebble, debris, stuff like that. But as actual moons and planetoids, I feel like that's not going to be a big issue.
Which that's definitely possible. But then that brings in the factor of time, because if it takes light, if it takes light a year to travel 1 light year, and you have to go 26 light years, to the nearest planet or something like that, then mapping out everything would literally take thousands of years
with our technology.
Well, yeah, exactly. So I guess it's possible, but that one seems the least likely. But then you have there's 2 other ones that are more controversial, which is wormholes, which we haven't been able to prove yet. But that would be basically entering the hole in one place in space and then exiting at another. Yeah. Or basically learning how to curve space itself, so that you basically fold space, so that you basically just hop over the bridge of one part of space into the other one. Which that one's seeming to be kind of backed up by Einsteinian physics, but once again there's no way that we would have the technology to do that. So if they could do something like that, that would make a lot of sense. And then the third one is that I've heard, which is the most controversial, is that every single thing in the universe has a resonance frequency. So everything vibrates at a certain frequency. And supposedly there may be a way to where if you're able to create, match the resonance frequency of a particular part in the universe, then just match that, then you, because of the non-locality principle, you would automatically teleport to that place.
That would be lit.
But once again, we're talking about you're now messing with quantum mechanics, and you're you're literally taking the taking the properties of electrons, which are the most highly unstable and unpredictable elements of the universe that we know of, and trying to aim that into a certain goal. Yeah. So there's a few different ways that you could do it, but the problem is we just don't know. And unless we can until we don't know, or until we do find out a little closer to that, then we're always going to be stuck on this planet, because we've been finding I think there's something over 400 Earth-like planets that we can see in the observable universe with our telescope that are in our galaxy. Yeah. But the thing is they're all so far away that we would have to send out basically a suicide mission and put them into cryosleep, and then just hope that they wake up at their destination, but without being destroyed by space itself.
Or even that they can come back after that being frozen, type of thing.
Yeah, like, and yet, even if they made it to that planet, like, there's no way to really get back, so they would maybe start colonizing that planet, and then hopefully if Earth isn't destroyed or if we have records of it, then we can start sending people in after them to see what happened. And hopefully they colonized it, or maybe they got eaten by, like, giant, like, 26-foot Native Americans that shoot laser beams out of us. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, like, gravity-wise. I guess for a recap, so Area 51 we think is going to happen, but, you know, of course, with a month, 2 month, 3 month in advance, the government is either A, not going to keep aliens there if there's aliens there because they would be dumb to do so. 2, they just are going to have an army out there that they're like, hey, yeah, we're going to keep the aliens here. We're not going to move a thing, but also you're not going to step foot here because we have these 40 calibers that you want no problems with. I think. So as for the recap, Area 51, I agree that I think either scenario is plausible. If there's really aliens there, either one of those I think is going to keep the normal Kyle from entering into Area 51.
Right.
But that being said, I think the actual pursuit of going there, I think, will be a benefit for the culture, a benefit for how they're actually planning a music venue to show up there. Like they're like a musical event, like a festival type of thing. Like I know there's gonna be full like fun things that happen. So like I really want to go. I do want to go. Fun. Like I think it'd be lit. But as for the other stuff we're talking about, I think that's even more fascinating than sometimes getting the actual answer. Like the quantum physics of it, the science behind it, the thought process it comes, and how far you have to bend your own thinking to get to these scenarios, I think is just as exciting as the government saying, hey, here we have aliens. Because yeah, for sure. Yeah, go ahead.
So I was gonna say is like, yeah, like I totally agree, and that's the thing is just like have you heard of the story of Cthulhu?
I've not.
Have you heard that? Like basically, like the writer of that basically tried to write what it was like having a creature that was basically infinity appear on Earth, and then what winds up happening is like some people kill themselves, some people lose their minds, and then other people worship it as a god.
Sheesh.
And I think that's basically like the same concept of what like an extraterrestrial would be to us. So like if there are extraterrestrials, then like that's the reason why they would have to keep it secret publicly, because it would completely shatter what we know about ourselves and what we accept. All religions would have to like come to a standstill. Science itself would get validated, and then everybody would have to say, well, now what?
Yeah, but even with that circumstance, you got to think about like the people who are trusted with this information. How come they didn't take their own lives and or behave like the average person? Because the fact that you're a politician or a general does not discount the fact that you are a person. And if you come into a contact with an infinite being of that sort, human nature first and foremost, self-preservation, and then you're going to be freaking out and you're going to tell your wife or something. Like nobody is that disciplined to like come in contact with something that is beyond capacity, in my opinion.
Well, and I agree with you for the most part, but here's another theory that a lot of people believe. I mean, like you can go into like the whole reptilian thing or not, but a lot of people believe that. Do you know the woman Moslin Othman? Have you ever heard that name?
Actually, I have. Where did I hear that before?
Moslin Othman is on the not Council of Foreign Relations, the United Nations. She's the United Nations representative for extraterrestrial contact. She's the liaison for speaking to extraterrestrials.
Interesting.
Back about 6 years ago, she actually got hired into the position, and it was actually on CNN when she got her position. Basically validating that somebody has to acknowledge that there's some type of like presence. And what a lot of people believe is that like maybe the people that have come in contact with them already are worshiping them, or already are doing their bidding, because they realize in the face of such a great threat that we're basically insignificant, and like unless we follow what they say, like then we basically don't have a choice of survival. So like
I like that.
That's what a lot of people believe. Like, and like that even goes into like the occult, and like there's like Satanism, and and all types of things like that. But a lot of people think that all stems from worship of these extra dimensional entities that basically pull the strings right in front of our noses. But our senses are not keen enough to be able to pick them up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because our technology is too primitive, and our eyes and ears and all of our other senses are just like, it's like trying to see a color that you've never seen before.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think they made it could be possible,
Yeah, like I agree that it actually really could be possible. So what's funny is that I wanted to pick apart this theory that a lot of like experts, quote unquote experts in these fields, say that there's one scenario where aliens did exist, but since humankind is such a brief blip in the entire scope of the universe, it's billions of years, and we've only been here for like maybe 100,000 years, whatever, that we just missed them. They all died off. They all did this. They all did that, type of thing. I think that theory itself needs to be picked apart, because if you think about, if you're going under the fact that there's billions and billions of an infinite number of planets, an infinite number of scenarios, an infinite number of this, and you live in that scenario where you think that aliens died off, well, according to that theory, there should be an infinite number of civilizations in this infinite universe that are happening simultaneously. There are aliens with technology like stones and sticks. There's aliens with technology right at our level, and there's aliens with technology that are far billions of years ahead of us because they were the first, or whatever. But I think with that scenario, that needs to be picked apart, and I think that needs to be axed, because if our universe is as big and as random and as whatever it is, there has to be aliens. Has to.
Oh yeah, because if you were to ask scientists back around the days of Roswell, or even 20 years ago, if aliens existed, you would be looked at as crazy. But now you'd be hard pressed to find any scientist in any field of science that says that there aren't aliens, because at this point it's a mathematical certainty.
Literally,
because just in our galaxy alone, there has to be at least hundreds of other civilizations. The problem is we just can't reach them.
I agree.
Or we can't communicate with them, or we can't pick them up.
Or they're listening, they're like, I don't want those problems.
Right. Because we're still blowing each other up. And that's what a lot of people believe, is that when we see UFOs and stuff coming to check on us and all this, it's basically they're just doing progress reports on humanity. Basically, because we're still blowing each other up, and they're monitoring our growth as a civilization to see if we're going to be a threat to the rest of the universe.
Yeah. Which at this point they should know that all humanity goes through its own type of growth, and I don't think humans specifically are immune or above or below the normal flow of civilization. I think because if you think about all mankind, we're Gucci, we fight, and then once we start getting more intelligent and have more of an infrastructure, we taper the fighting, but we do it in a more controlled aspect. And then if you think about the last time we had a world war, I mean, of course you can count Vietnam and all these things that are wars for resources, but if you think about it all out war type of thing, I think we're getting less and less frequent with our wars because we have such damaging technology. It's at some point there's going to come a time in our war instruments where nobody can win. And I think that's when peace is going to happen, because it's I really can't argue with China. I can't argue with Russia, because we all have the tools to destroy the entire planet. So I'm just going to make peace because I can't take it that far. And I think that may be where true peace finds its hold, is once we get the instruments to a level, it's just, because a nuclear bomb is catastrophic, but that is not as far as we can go, especially with our infinite intellect type of thing. So once we really get that next thing that's wow, this is literally half the planet destroyed, we should chill out. Let's be friends.
Well, I think that we're pretty close to that now. That's why the world is kind of at a standstill now, even though there's enough nukes to blow up the Earth something 16 times and the moon 5 times combined. But the thing is that everything is still political. I don't think it's going to be a technological growth that actually determines if we stop. It has to be like a social / spiritual awakening or realization that we all basically have to work together.
So,
and that there's no point in using these resources as weapons. We could use them as energy, like nuclear energy can be used.
Well, one thing I was going to say before I switched to that point is I'm under the impression that ultimate weapon will be something biological that like can't be controlled. Like I know I used to think it was like the zombie virus, like the zombie apocalypse. Like that's something that if somebody created, that's the end of the world as we know it, pretty much, except for like islanders or whatever. But to get back onto your point about how it'd be something that we all kind of group together on, I think the normal person would say an alien invasion would group us all together. I think
Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan actually said that in one of his speeches.
But I think he's wrong, because if these creatures or people or beings, come to the Earth, it's not going to be a war, period. Nobody can travel 26 billion light years and then have a gun. It would be a fight. And they're not going to come out with guns. They're not going to come out with bombs. They're not going to come out with hand-to-hand combat. They're going to show up. They're going to either do something biological and destroy people. They're going to come out with huge beams like that, or it's going to be something beyond a capacity that's just going to take people out in an instant. Like, there's not going to be a question on if they come and they want the planet, if it's theirs or not. It's like, sorry, bye.
Yeah. Yeah, there's in that new Godzilla movie, they had a weapon called the Oxygen Destroyer.
Yeah.
Now, what if there's a global oxygen destroyer that that lasted long enough to suffocate us, and then the rest of the planet regenerates because there's still trees?
And you think about it, and you think about the actual applicable aspect of an oxygen destroyer. In my capacity, that's not out of my realm of understanding. I feel like that can happen in one of two ways. You can introduce an element into the atmosphere in a high capacity that stifles your oxygen. You can do something as simple as vacuum it out and put it into space and break our greenhouse, break our ozone layer so it escapes on its own. Literally, if you're at that level of in the stars, bro, that would be the simplest way to do it.
But then here's another thing that goes with one of that earlier theory I was talking about how the governments of the world may already be working with them.
Yeah.
What if humans themselves, the energy that we produce, because every human has an energy output based on their emotional state, you put out energy. What if these beings feed on certain types of energy and they're just harvesting the earth which is probably why things that are negative, both movies and music and television and just global conflict are still being pushed, even though we feel like we should be past this, because they needed to keep going because they're feeding on us.
You know what? I think that is probably one of the most fascinating theories I've come across recently, and I think this definitely needs to have a part 2, because I definitely want to go in depth on that, and I think that itself is its own topic and should be dived into, because there's
and I have some info on that for part 2 too.
Literally, if you are such a conspiracy theorist I like to believe I am, there's so many merits and things in this world that you come across that supports that. So I think we should talk about that next time, about if we are serving these beings and whatever, or not us, but if the government, then our media, our music, our self what I'm trying to say, how we view ourselves, our self-image, things like that, all serve that purpose. Then we got to start thinking about how would they siphon the energy from us, what capacity, how close do they need to be? Is this a mental thing? Are we all connected mentally, and then they're just at the tip of that, and they're siphoning it? We just talk all day about that. Yeah. So
I definitely have info on that.
Yeah. So let's wrap this one because we're right at time, and I think this is productive talk. I could talk about aliens forever, so we might just do part 2, part 3, part 4, depending on our time schedules, and really just figure out, but just mull over the idea of what aliens could be. and it's just the options are endless.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's literally infinite.
Infinite. So thank you, KMT, The Raw. Thank you.
Thanks, Ray, for having me on.
Yeah, I don't even think I introduced myself. I'm Ray Elle, on behalf of Little Big Guys Production, doing this podcast. It's going to be streams of consciousness. So when we talk, we have a topic we want to hit. We started off with Area 51, but we kind of just went off into whatever it leads to, because I think that's where our greatest ideas come from, is when you're not tapered, you're not on a schedule, you're just not censoring your talk, you're just letting it flow, and that's when the best ideas come. So that's kind of what I want the podcast to be about. Have one topic,
it's such a massive topic.
I'm telling you, that's why aliens is the perfect first topic. But yeah.
All right. Well, I really appreciate you having me on. Thanks for your time.
Of course, part 2's coming soon. So we'll get together on that. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the talk. If you have any questions, leave a 5-star review. Ask us questions. Figure out a topic. If you want to call in and talk and just let your voice be heard, let your mindset be heard, bro, I'm all for it. So just leave me a comment on this, give us 5 stars, and we'll see you next time.
All right, peace.
See you.